Hello everyone! Now, since I covered the Shiratsuyu yesterday, I decided I'd cover the Sims today, since it plays very differently than the Shiratsuyu does. Now, first of all, always good to agree with your team which way you're going. We have two Belfasts, they only have one Belfast, so we have a pretty clear pay-to-win advantage here. Of course, there's no pay-to-win in this game. Belfast. Anyway, the first thing I do is let them know that I'll be dropping a smoke wall for the team. One of the strengths of USDDs is of course the very long duration and long-lasting smoke walls. So in USDDs, especially the Sims, you want to be dropping this smoke for your teammates, since it gives them such a huge advantage in survivability when they're basically invisible the entire time. And the Sims itself doesn't really need the smoke as much as your team does. So I dropped them a long line of smoke, basically almost the entire way from my spawn, just close to this island right here. Speed boost active and full speed, and it makes this nice long wall of smoke for the team behind me. It's also always good to check the time when your last puff is deployed. Usually you can deduct about 2 minutes from that, and then I write in chat, final puff lasts till 1650. So now my team knows that at 1650 the last puff will be disappearing, so instead of having to guess when your smoke runs out, they have an exact number when it will run out. Because the last thing you want is for your teammates to get caught in the smoke when it's running out and be caught full broadside sitting still, or in general just be caught unawares. So Sims, first of all, of course, lay the smoke for your teammates, and second, very important, constant scouting. Now, unlike the Shiratsuyu that just scouts and doesn't really engage, the Sims, you want to be picking fights with DDs all the time. First of all, you want to be scouting like I'm doing right now, scouting incoming flankers, scouting incoming torps, and such things. But you also want to be picking fights with any DDs you might spot. Case in point here, I instantly run into an Akatsuki, I instantly pick a fight with him, start firing, force him, put him on fire, force him to turn away. And of course, here is one of the main strengths of the Sims. Most DDs would probably struggle in this situation, but the Sims has a fantastic rudder shift. I run the acceleration mod, hence why I was able to accelerate from almost a standstill and still able to dodge those torps there. It turns like a god. The rudder shift is fantastic. It has a very tight turning circle. It's quite a slim profile, and when you run the acceleration mode like I do, you are able to accelerate from a standstill to torpedo beats in, well, a blink of an eye, as you saw there. So the ship doesn't really need smoke itself. You can usually use your maneuverability and your fairly low concealment to spot for your team. In this case, the concealment of course is 6.6 on the Sims, which is slightly better to the rest of the DDs. I think the only one that really beats it is like Leningrad at, is it 6.3? No, I think Leningrad was 6.6 as well, but Shiratsuyu is of course the best at 5.9. You might notice that in chat I pinged on the minimap their position on the minimap, and then I said 10-second warning on smoke. So I'm letting my teammates know the smoke is about to run out. And in between, of course, I'm once again scouting, and I'm harassing this Akatsuki again. He keeps trying to pick a fight, or well, he keeps trying to scout or spot or whatever. But one of the reasons, of course, I consider Akatsuki one of the worst DDs in the current meta. In fact, I have the Akatsuki rated as one of the worst DDs when I made my recommended ranked list, is of course that it gets spotted almost at the same time as the Sims, and it doesn't have time to react. Unlike the Shiratsuyu, which has a 700-meter buffer to the Sims, which allows it to react and dodge and evade, the Akatsuki doesn't have anything similar and easily gets caught out by gunboats, just like here. And it doesn't have the gunpowder to really fight a Sims, and honestly it just really can't compete, and that's of course why the Akatsuki is gonna remain as one of the worst DDs in my book. Anyway, I managed to secure the kill, our first blood. I lay down a second smoke. I let my team know where I'm putting it down. You see the Gneiss now is trying to push this side, and I want to encourage my team to move up this side because it's a better position than the one they are sitting in right now. So I let them know that there's a new smoke up on the other side of the island. And once again, I give them a timer on when the smoke is running out, in this case 13:30. Once again, try to keep your team up to date on the duration of your smokes, because people might be hesitant to use your smokes if they don't know when they're running out, they don't know when they've been deployed. So letting your team know basic information like that is very useful for like how they can plan their future moves and such. And you can see my battleships are already moving up to use that smoke. The Belfast have used their own smokes, but it looks like they're also moving to use that same smoke as well. Just like earlier, I pick a fight with enemy DDs I see. I saw a Mayhem slip into those islands. There's a nice little gap between the islands, so I stagger my torps on top of each other and send them both in there. Now, I use the 9.2 km torps on the Sims because the 5.5 km torps are way too situational and you can't just throw them out all the time like you can with the 9.2s. And if you noticed, I staggered my torps almost on top of each other. And that's to make them very hard to dodge, because these torps are extremely slow. However, they have pretty good concealment. So what you want to do is make them pretty undodgeable by stacking them on top of each other, basically filling in the gaps between the torps with another set of torps. And I managed to catch this Mayhem that was sitting in the smoke shooting at me. I managed to catch him off guard with those Sims torps. That's of course one of the strengths. The weakness is the very slow speed and the low damage, but they have a fairly short cooldown, so you can kind of throw them out whenever you feel like, which is something I tend to do as often as I can remember. Shiratsuyu gets spotted again. I think it might be, I don't know if it's our Shiratsuyu that's spotting him or if it's radar. Regardless, of course, picking a fight with him. And at this point we have a pretty good advantage. Yeah, he gets killed off. Now they are down with no more DDs. Their Belfast appears to attempt to make some sort of play, but I drop preemptive torps in case he tries to push in. He's gonna get wrecked by those torps. And this is very much sums up the best way to play The Sims. You have strengths, maneuverability, fairly low concealment, and good guns, and of course very strong smokes. And you want to be using these smokes mostly for the team, because if you end up using, I hate using smokes selfishly on The Sims, because you can make such huge massive smoke walls. You can make like these entire walls of smoke that can hide your entire team, and if you're forced to smoke yourself, or if you only use it for yourself, you're wasting one of the main strengths of The Sims on basically only yourself. And I mean, Belfast is going to do so much more damage than a Sims with his 4 guns sitting in a smoke is ever going to do. This ship can of course stealth fire if need be, but once again, sometimes I see Sims that sail away from enemies to be able to stealth fire them, and the damage is so pitiful, really. Like, the damage is incredibly weak. This ship is not a... You shouldn't play this ship for the damage. You shouldn't try to like break some sort of damage records or try to measure your performance in the ship based on what kind of damage you do. This isn't the ship for that. If you want to do the big damages in a DD, then something like a gunboat, a Bliska is fairly good at it, or Shiratsuyu, where you can land a lot of big heavy hitting torps. But the Sims isn't there for the damage. It's scouting, smokes, and of course picking on other DDs. This Belfast have a really good position in the middle of the smoke there, so I'm telling them that I'm re-smoking them so they don't have to worry about their own smokes. He says affirmative and slows down in my smoke, and thank you, of course. See, this is I think the rank 10 to 5 bracket on NA, and obviously people in this team understand a bit better how to play as a team. Once again, but it's good to build up this habit. Whenever your last puff runs out, you check at the clock and then you let them know. So I let my team know that my smoke will run out at 9:30. So once again, my team is well aware of when the smoke will run out. At this point, it's probably not even necessary since this game is probably over. But it's a good habit to develop, and it's a good way to lead your team to victory. Now, The Sims is weaker at ranks, for, let's say, 20... 25, does it start 25, 23, whatever, 23 to 10 or so, because most of the time your teammates don't understand to make use of you. Much like the Shiratsuyu, people don't understand to support the Shiratsuyu and utilize the scouting. At lower ranks, people tend to not understand to use the Sims smokes to their advantage, and they tend to run in without smokes and do a bunch of dumb YOLO shit. But when you get higher ranks and people understand to utilize your smokes, like my team did here, every one of my smokes was utilized and my scouting helped a lot and so forth. When you get teams that actually utilize the Sims to their strengths, it is a very strong DD. Of course, One of the benefits of The Sims, well, let's see when this game's end. The game ends, and let's see what kind of XP did we actually get. Not too bad, I'd say. I mean, money-wise, you're not gonna make too much, but it's still a premium, so you do get a bonus. Damage, only 24,000. But of course, you shouldn't be measuring the performance of The Sims in damage. If you're measuring it in damage in ranked, you're doing it wrong. I mean, you can farm some higher numbers in this if you just sit back and you constantly stealth fire a bunch of battleships, but your actual usefulness to the team is a fraction compared to the usefulness of what I just displayed. Moving on, of course, base XP, you can see a massive chunk of base XP. Yes, I did solo kill a DD, and yes, I did some damage to the other DDs, but The Sims also has a built-in bonus. That means it gets a lot more base XP than any other ship, and that's why some people tend to look down on The Sims in ranked, because it's often a ship that is used to make sure you never lose a star, because it's pretty easy to get top XP on your team thanks to this innate bonus that The Sims has. But there are more reasons than that to play The Sims, and if you play it as a team player as I did here, it's a very strong ship. In fact, we didn't lose anyone, we just kind of rolled over them, which is of course the best way to win a ranked game. Stats wise, not really much to talk about. I mean, it was a sub 10-minute game. Most of my damage is on the DDs as expected. Right, let's move on to my recommended build for this ship. Right, starting off, we have of course modules. Consumable wise, I recommend Premium Repair and Premium Smoke. The third one, there's some options. If you face a lot of carriers, then running Defensive AA is of course highly recommended. And even if you don't face carriers, Defensive AA can be quite good against spotter planes and such things, and fighter planes that tend to spot your stuff. Being able to shoot them down is pretty useful. Module wise, of course, I use the 9.2 km torps because they are significantly more versatile than the short range ones, and being constrained to 5.5 km in this radar meta is terrible. Main battery mod 1, aiming systems mod 1. Once again, if there were a lot of carriers, then AA guns mod 2 would be an option. Propulsion mod, you don't want to be losing engine. You also what happened to my Shiratsuyu game. Engine boost mod 1 is an option for faster speed boost, but I don't consider it that important, to be honest. I'd rather use it on another ship. And propulsion mod, once again, you saw the way I dodged those torps. The rudder shift is already fantastic at 2.7 seconds, so I'd rather take the acceleration. Preventive maintenance from Captain perks, followed by Last Stand, followed by Superintendent. You want to be able to continually smoke your team. Concealment expert for that great stealth, survivability expert for that tankiness, radio location to be able to see where the enemy DDs are, and finally adrenaline rush. If this build looks very similar, that's because it's my gearing captain. And as I've said before when I mentioned my gearing build, I said it works pretty perfectly on pretty much any other USDD, and The Sims is a perfect example. The gearing captain works just fine on this one as well. Anyway, that was my Sims commentary. I hope you guys enjoyed it.